a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technological difficulties. The party whip on duty in the House will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all supplementary questions have been answered by the Deputy President, we'll proceed to the next question on the question paper. So the first question has been asked by Honorable B.M. Hadebe. Deputy President, and welcome to the House.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for the opportunity. Before I start, Deputy Speaker, allow me, on behalf of the President and Cabinet, to convey our deepest condolences to the royal family and all the people that are gathered in and around KwaNongoma to pay their last respect to the King. Our condolences also goes to the entire Zulu nation for the loss of their King. May the soul of our King rest in peace. Thank you. Honorable Speaker, South Africa is one of the countries most adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in Africa. By the end of November 2020, we accounted for the highest number of confirmed cases per capita, with approximately 800,000 cumulative cases representing over a third, that is 36% of the total cases on the continent. In response, like the most governments around the world, South Africa implemented a nationwide lockdown to prepare the necessary health infrastructure as well as to minimize the spread of the virus. The initial lockdown, which began on the 26th of March 2020, lasted for 5 weeks, which was relatively stringent even by international standards. It helped to contain the rapid spread of the virus. Although the pandemic continues to pose risk to the public health, the nationwide lockdown was expected to lead to a substantial short and long-term economic costs, especially to sectors such as manufacturing and tourism. Official labor force data shows that there were approximately 2.2 million fewer people employed in the second quarter of 2020 relative to the first, essentially erasing the last 10 years of job growth in our economy. Only a partial recovery can be observed in data from the third quarter of the year, with employment down by 1.7 million relative to pre-pandemic levels. For example, research during the lockdown by the University of Cape Town's Development Policy Research Unit suggests that job losses have been concentrated among a range of already vulnerable groups, particularly This has affected individuals in the poorest households, less skilled and low wages, informal workers, those with transient employment or persistent non-employment histories, and those living in poor communities, most particularly women. This is not unique to our country, as labor markets across the world were also heavily affected, with those at the bottom rank of the social ladder mostly adversely affected. As the world reeled from the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic, the South African government moved rapidly to mitigate the expected health, social, and economic impacts of the pandemic. For instance, government offered a range of support measures, including social relief of 350 rands per month to individuals who are currently unemployed, which has recently been extended. In addition to the measures pertaining to the stimulus plan, government extended the special COVID-19 grants and temporary employer relief scheme benefits. To date, over 50 billion rands has been paid to workers, over 13 million payments, and a further 15.8 billion rand is projected to be spent as the benefit is extended. The Unemployment Insurance Fund continues to pay statutory benefits as per the department's mandate. An interest make-up scheme to assist companies in financial distress while sustaining existing jobs and productive capacity has also been launched by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Even though this is not sufficient given the current fiscal constraints, the interventionist approach that government has adopted will go a long way in providing a cushion against the chilly winds of poverty. Hence, the government places a great deal of emphasis on employment stimulus, ramping up of investment opportunities, and identifying new sources of growth through various sectoral master plans that are structured on the basis of social compacting. These specific measures are aimed at improving productivity, investment, and competitiveness. The implementation of the poultry master plan, for instance, is already bearing fruit in driving economic growth and job creation, where 428 jobs have been created from over 735 million rands of new investment. Similarly, Honorable Deputy Speaker, in the sugar industry, about 1 billion rand has been set aside over 5 years towards industry transformation in order to remedy the inequalities, especially experienced by black sugarcane growers. These social compacting initiatives are anchored on aggressive infrastructure investment, where over 250 billion was set aside for water and sanitation, for transport, for human settlement and strategic integrated projects, with expected creation of 300,000 new jobs into the economy. On the energy security, 2,600 megawatts from renewable energy will be finalized this year under bid window 5. These measures are aimed at facilitating competitive and inclusive economy as outlined in the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. On the question of the adequacy of the budget to fund anti-poverty measures and initiatives in the current environment of fiscal constraints, we are confident, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that the 12.6 billion rands allocated at employment stimulus is adequate. Major benefits will come through economic activities that these resources seek to ignite. Some practical interventions on skills development where training will be extended to young people, particularly women who have lost their jobs or who are redundant. As mentioned earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic had a major impact on the tourism sector. As a response, the Department of Tourism, in partnership with the private sector, has developed a tourism sector recovery plan, which will soon be presented to Cabinet for approval. The plan outlines a set of interventions aimed at igniting the recovery anchored on three strategic themes, namely protecting and rejuvenating supply, reigniting demand, and strengthening enabling capability for long-term sustainability. We are confident, Deputy Speaker, that with this intervention, the sector and its entire value chain will be resuscitated. We admit that under current environment of fiscal constraint, the reduced budget tabled by the Minister can never be sufficient to address all our socio-economic challenges which are facing our country and further compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we do believe that the intervention listed earlier will go a long way towards mitigating the negative socio-economic impact of the pandemic on the lives
Deputy President,
and livelihoods of
just
South
one
Africans.
second, Deputy President. Kosi Mkonto, please switch off your mic, and you're a repeat offender. You are repeatedly having your mic open. I don't understand why you don't learn some vigilant tactics, at least to ensure you switch it off. Please, man. Once it's adequate, we make those mistakes, but you can't do it so repeatedly. Thank you, Deputy President. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. I'm done.
Okay. All right, thank you, thank you. Honorable Hadebe, it's your turn for a supplementary question.
Yeah. No, thank you, Honorable the Deputy Speaker, and also thank you, Honorable the Deputy President, for your detailed and substantive response. Much appreciated. I'm speaking to the DP.
No, don't address them, please. Don't start. You are also encouraging them. Please. Thokozile, Vali, Mike, Yaku, please, man, you are disrupting the house. Chief whips in the house, please talk to your members. No, and you see them regularly. Please talk to them. You surely noticing who these people are. You can phone and talk to them. They are really disruptive. Go ahead, Ndati.
No, thanks. DP, in your view as the leader of government, what would have been an impact on the country and the poor had government not proactively intervened with these measures and proactively so on the poor? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Deputy Speaker. Well, I think the lockdown initiatives has assisted the country, one, to raise the necessary awareness that there is a virus. Everyone in the country got to know why the lockdown is because there's a virus. And that virus it can be transmitted from person to person. Now, that's one advantage of the lockdown. Of course, it was severe, but people in the country got to know that there's this pandemic coming. Secondly, we had to buy time to prepare our health infrastructure so that when we open, we can be ready to assist our people. Now, thirdly, I think the lockdown initiatives assisted to reduce the spread because we've minimized movement, we've minimized interaction between people, so the spread of the virus was slowed down. I think those were the benefits of the lockdown intervention, lockdown level 5, level 4, level 3, down to 1. Thank you.
The second supplementary question is asked by Honorable J.J. Hill-Louis.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker and Mr. Deputy President. Sir, when one looks at the detail of the budget that was tabled, it's difficult to reconcile the details therein with the answer that you've just given around the suitability of the budget to fighting poverty and alleviating poverty. If one looks at the details, we are cutting 31 billion rand over the next 3 years from the social grants budget to care for the most vulnerable in our society. We are cutting 700 million rand from the major hospitals budget, including a specific cut of 300 million rand from emergency medical services. Those are ER rooms, emergency rooms at our major hospitals. There's a significant cut in the budget for primary teaching, which will result in school class sizes growing, particularly in rural provinces. This has led to the quite extraordinary situation, sir, the first time that I've ever seen this, perhaps you have seen it before, but I have not, where the Fiscal and Financial Commission, the FFC, has said that the budget may be unconstitutional because it is so deleterious to the basic rights guaranteed to the poor in our Constitution. So my question to you, sir, is do you wish to revise the answer that you have just given about the suitability of the budget to the poor?
Honorable Hill-Louis, you have overstretched your time by 23 seconds.
I've asked my question. Thank you.
And please, nobody should follow this bad example in the House. No one. Please, go ahead and that.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. No, I don't think I should revise the answer. I should state the answer, though I understand the fiscal constraint and the environment that because of not our own making. We're just talking about the lockdown initiative that we have initiated as a country in order to protect life. But of course, in the process, livelihood had to suffer. Quite aware that a lot of our people lost employment, a lot of our companies closed down. Because of this very difficult budget, but I must say, the President came here and presented a plan, a recovery plan, to say in the middle of this situation, we should not despair. Here is a plan. We have got a plan to try and get our ESCOM right to have sufficient energy. We have got a plan to create, to roll back all the jobs that we've lost and create employment. We've got a plan to try and open up for small businesses. All the companies that have lost their market, that have closed down, should be assisted to stand up again. We are in that plan. Well, the employment stimulus, for an example, has assisted more than 350,000 young people who went and assisted in our schools as teacher assistants. That is information that is available. So it's not all gloom and doom. Yes, in terms of our revenue, we've gone down. Understandable so, because a lot of companies have closed down. Because people were at home, we're trying to limit the spread of the virus. And you can see that the pandemic had very different impact on different countries. There are countries that have suffered a lot, maybe because of how they handled the spread of the virus. There are countries that have survived. They continue to survive. We are now at a point where vaccines are beginning to be rolled out, which we think this can be the final battle with the virus. If we succeed with this one, we're out of this problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the IFP. I don't have a name here.
The name is Ngumalo Speaker.
Go ahead and that, Deputy.
Ngiyathokoza kakhulu sekela somlomo ngibingelele kwiphini lika Mengameli nina besilo ngiyabingelela bengifisa ukuthi nje mhlonishwa phini lika Mengameli inombolo zabantu abasha kakhulu ekaqeda kukhishwa between October no December unyaka enodlule ziyakutshengisa ukuthi intsha yakithi iyona eshayeke kakhulu kulesimo sokungakhuli kwi-economy kakhulu futhi ngalesikhathi kune COVID-19 manje ke siyafisa ukwazi njengentsha represented la eParliament la South Africa nesimele intsha yonke ya South Africa ukuthi yipi indlela uhulumeni aseyikhandile ezokwazi ukuthi particularly intervention yayo kube eqondene ngqo nokulekelela kwabantu abasha ikakhulu laba okuyibona asebeqedile naseyigona abahleze emakhaya namajazi kube asebephumile futhi emsebenzini kulesi sikhathi samanje ngiphethe mhlonishwa isekela lika speaker ngokuthi umuntu akamncoma uMengameli iphini kaMengameli ngokuthi ngesikhathi se-lockdown libe exemplary ngendlela yokuthi lingabonakali nje siyathokoza ukuthi namhlanje simbone liphila iphini likaMengameli
sesikuphelele isikhathi uyabona Deputy President.
Ngiyabonga. Manje ke uma sishaya umthetho kufanele kube yithi futhi kufanele siwugcine umthetho. Thina ke esinezifo ezinye kufanele sizibhekelele kakhulu. Silalele futhi nomthetho. Singaloku sihamba nje. Sizibhekelele. Ngako mhlambe namhla sinani la kule ndawo. Ukuphendula umbuzo ziningi ke izindlela esizame ukuthi sifinyelele kubantu abasha. Njengoba ubona uStatistician General athule inamba la zabantu abasha abangasebenzi, abantu abasha abalahlekelwe umsebenzi. Sishilo la ukuthi asikhethanga muntu ngalesikhathi sale pandemic. Upresident uye wanikezela wonke umuntu ngama social grant u350 ukuthi abantu baphile. Kodwa ke ngaphezulu kwalokho upresident ukhipha imali ayibiza ukuthi i-stimulus package. Leso stimulus package sisize kakhulu abantu abasha. Ngishilo ngathi kunabantwana abadlulile ku-matric abafundile abangasebenzi. Inamba ithi ayidlule ku-500,000 abantwana abaye bacasheka ey'nkolweni ukuthi basize uthishela. Njengoba sikhuluma labo bantwana basey'kolweni zonke cithi sakalala. Imizamo leyo uhulumeni futhi through the stimulus package uye wazama ukuthi avuselele i-tourism ngokusiza abantwana abahlezi ukuthi bake baqeqeshwe amakhono wabo. Baqeqeshwa kakhulu ku-hospitality. Bathi uma baqeqeshwa babe bethola i-stipend. Ngoba sibona ukuthi le sector ye-tourism ilimele kakhulu nge-lockdown. Asigoqanga izandla nje. Uminister we-small business uzamile ukuthi amakampani alidwa ngabantu abasha asizakala. Amaningi avaliwe kodwa amaningi siwaphephisile ukuthi avalwe. Sizoqhubeka futhi sibasize futhi abantu abancane ukuthi bawavula amakampani lawo, siba support ukuya phambili. Sizazobheka kule plan yethu, kule recovery plan, sizobheka ukuthi njengoba isimo sabantu abasha siya ngokushuba, yini okunye kufanele sikwenze. Ngibonge kakhulu. Sekela Somlomo.
Thank you. The last supplementary on this question will be asked by Honorable Dena.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, with regards to the planned anti-poverty interventions and specifically the planned employment stimulus package announced by President Ramaphosa during his SONA speech as one of government's priority interventions, as you have mentioned as well. The President specifically said that this stimulus package will be to create jobs and support livelihoods through a relationship between the private and public sectors. Can you supply details on exactly what this relationship between the private and public sectors will entail and confirm whether or not disparaging remarks and scapegoating of the private sector by members of cabinet such as the Minister of Employment and Labour would be conducive to such a relationship, especially and ironically with regards to employment creation?
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. In terms of our recovery plan, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition has developed almost 4 master plans. These master plans are around food security, are around rural development, sugar and poultry, and those sectors are going to be supported through the stimulus package. One master plan has to deal with a labor-intensive sector, retail clothing, textile, footwear, and leather. That is one sector plan that is going to be supported by this stimulus package. And one sector plan deals with car manufacturing, which is going to be extended. It's doing well in the country. You've seen the president opening one in Tshwane, the Ford manufacturing plant. Now, all those are meant to create over 500,000 direct jobs. But this is not going to happen overnight. It's a process. Coming from where we're coming from, we need to work hard every day to reclaim our space again. Thank you very much.
The next question is asked by Honorable Mazzoni. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This past week, we have shared with the members of the National Council of Provinces the same matter of mitigating risk and potential corruption in the acquisition, distribution, and rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. We can report here, Deputy Speaker, as well that as the Interministerial Committee on COVID-19 vaccines, we have developed a corruption risk mitigation plan as one of the oversight mechanisms in the implementation of the COVID-19 vaccination plan. The IMC has sought to identify potential risk in the procurement of vaccines, of which we then adopted mitigation strategies required to address such risk. In our view, procurement risk is greater when there are multiple purchasers and suppliers with no uniformity of quality and effectiveness of the product, as it was the case with the procurement of personal protective equipment at the outbreak of this pandemic. On the contrary, in the acquisition of the COVID-19 vaccines, there is limited room for such corruptions as the market is highly regulated with few manufacturers. Further to this, the product has to pass the stringent quality assessment by the regulator, and the procurement is centralized at a national level for the ease of monitoring. There will also be no need for any additional procurement at the level of provinces, as they have limited function in terms of distribution, which is determined by national. Consequently, provinces will have to use selected service providers and existing distribution mechanism and arrangements for medicines which are already in place. Let us remind the Honourable House that these measures have been adopted and are being implemented in line with the terms of reference of the IMC on COVID-19 vaccines. In this specific instance, the IMC is enjoined to put in place measures to prevent corruption and wasteful expenditure in the procurement and distribution of vaccines. Where non-disclosure agreements may be used to hide corruption, constitutional oversight bodies, such as the Auditor General of South Africa, will have access to such non-disclosure agreement for probity audit. In addition to the Auditor General, law enforcement agencies are doing their work on intelligence-driven measures of combating crime, fraud, and corruption through the Fusion Center. These measures will enable us to deliver a successful vaccination plan and limit any possible corruption, whilst enabling South Africa to utilize this opportunity to grow local manufacturing capability in line with our industrial policy as a country. Our government agenda has been stated right at the beginning that we do not only want to acquire these vaccines as manufactured elsewhere, but we intend to locally manufacture them. As a country, we have the necessary expertise and infrastructure and are confident of our capability to locally produce the life-saving COVID-19 vaccines and associated technologies for the development of vaccines for future pandemics. For us to be successful in such aspirations, we must also counter activities such as the production of substandard or falsified vaccines. In this regard, we have put in place the following measures. All vaccines centers will be published on various platforms for all our citizens to have access to this information. And we're working on increasing the number of testing laboratories to expedite quality assurance of all vaccines produced. All suppliers will be requested to produce regulatory certificates to buyers, providing a unique identifier on the delivery of the vaccines and online verification of that certificate. Furthermore, we have, through the communication workstream of the IMC, developed a public awareness campaign to conscientize the public on dangers of utilizing unregistered vaccine centers. There are also webinars and radio programs that are being utilized to engage various stakeholders on vaccines, corruption risk, as well as how we could jointly implement mitigation measures with our community. Communication of detection and prosecution of any corruption will be done on a regular basis to enhance transparency and public accountability. Ultimately, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we are confident of the effectiveness of the plans we have made and the measures we have put in place to combat any form of corruption. This includes queue jumping that has been reported widely in the media as one of the risks. The most important intervention at this phase, which is only targeted at healthcare workers, is to require those being inoculated to produce proof of employment. This means that people cannot jump the queue by falsely claiming to be frontline workers in the healthcare sector. We have also limited people's ability to alter their workplaces once registered for vaccination, as this is another potential strategy that queue jumpers could use. In this instance, the use of the electronic vaccine data system seeks to ensure that the right people are vaccinated as per the relevant phase. Together, we must ensure that we tackle any acts of corruption that take advantage of the plight of our people. We have a duty to defeat the coronavirus and ensure the enjoyment of life and dignity for all, as outlined in the Bill of Rights. That is why, Honorable Deputy Speaker, we have activated whistleblowing mechanism through existing hotlines such as the Presidential Hotline, the Anti-Corruption Hotline, hosted by the Public Service Commission, and the whistleblowing hotline of the Special Investigation Unit for the broader public to play their part in the prevention and combating of corruption. Our social partners at NEDLEC, interfaith leaders, traditional leaders are central to the public awareness campaign, which will raise the necessary public awareness to the number of people taking vaccines, including reporting corruption where it manifests itself. Already we are mobilizing public support for the vaccination program, using all official languages on national, community, regional, commercial radio stations. Further, we will make use of all communication platforms across the length and breadth of our country, including in rural communities, to ensure that every citizen, no matter their location in the country, is reached with this message. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Mazzoni.
Deputy Speaker, the Honourable Mazzoni is unavailable today, so I'm handling the question.
I was almost saying you are not here.
I'm certainly not.
It's okay, go ahead.
Deputy President, we must all together tackle any instance of corruption. I just want to focus on that quote from your answer now. Scorpio, the investigative journalist team, have uncovered or revealed allegations of alleged inappropriate links between the Honourable Minister of Health and a company called Digital Vibes for a contract amounting to 82 million rand, appointed by the Department of Health to help with the vaccine rollout media. Ms. Nodira Mita, Ms. Tahera Matha, and Ms. Yenzi Sokela all worked for the Honourable Minister in his 2017 ANC internal election campaign and now work for Digital Vibes. And Ms. Makosazana Mtetwa is an ANC staff member who also works for a foundation called Ikusasa Africa, which is the personal foundation of the Honourable Minister of Health. All of these people are now involved in this 82 million rand tender. Now, to the extent that there is a credible vaccine rollout program, something which I must say is a matter for debate, but not for today, public support for that program is critically undermined by revelations like this. So going back to your quote, Deputy President, I wonder, would you give the country and this House an assurance that you will take these allegations extremely seriously? Can you tell us what you are doing as Deputy President to investigate them? And give us the assurance that if there is any truth to these allegations, that the Minister will be removed from office immediately. Thank you.
Deputy President.
Thank you very much. Remember, I'm Deputy President. I'm working in the office of the President. Once a President responds on a matter, that is the response of the Presidency. So I will elect not to comment on a matter that the President has commented, because the comment of the President is my comment. Now, the Minister of Health has spoken to the President, explaining himself in the whole matter, and the Special Investigation Unit is on the matter. So we leave it at that up until this investigative unit comes out with a finding. Then we'll take it up from there. That is the response that was given by the President. I'm just repeating that response. So the kind of information that you have, I can hear you are naming people's names and all that. Maybe it can be useful to the investigative unit. Don't you think you must present that to the unit? It can assist, because all of us must try and assist in this case. But with the vaccine, there are limited manufacturers, and there are agreements that are signed. Prices might differ, we negotiate, we finalize, and we pay, they deliver. Now, in our case, we're still storing our vaccine in a BioVac facility in Midrand, where we are partly owning those facilities. Tomorrow, I'll be visiting some of their facilities in Cape Town, where they manufacture vaccines. So as government, we are partly owning that facility and we want to increase our stake so that we're a majority shareholder in that, so that we lead in this project of developing our own vaccine capability. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The second supplementary question here is by Honorable Glomo.
Yabonga, Deputy Speaker. Phininga Mongameli, as a chairperson of the IMC, are you satisfied that all provincial plans are realistic in helping government to reach the intended target of 67% of vaccination of the population? And also, if you are satisfied that immobilization of traditional leaders, traditional healers, faith-based organizations, and all civic society leaders has been well done on all provinces to lead our communities in accessing vaccine when it gets to phase 2 of this program. Ngiyabonga, Deputy President.
Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I am very satisfied because all the rollout plans from the different provinces, we get to discuss them centrally together with the Minister of Health. They get presented to the IMC so that we know which side is opened where. And I'm happy to report that we are getting now wider and wider. We are going far into our far-flung rural areas. That's where now we are opening these vaccination centers. Now, this is a good preparatory phase because we're only dealing with healthcare workers, preparing that we get ready to take the second phase where the volume of people will be bigger. Before starting with the vaccination program, we consulted with traditional leaders. We consulted with interfaith leaders, and they are very willing to support government and to spread the message and to sort of condemn the myth and the false information that is going through out there and get our people to vaccinate. At a particular point, if everything allows, our traditional leaders will be the first in that phase to go to inoculate. And our interfaith leaders will be the first to go up front so that they dispel all the myth around the vaccines. We are going to scale up the vaccination process. Now, we're aiming that by the end of this month, which is March, we should reach 1 million. So there's a lot that still needs to be done. We'll be receiving our batches of Johnson & Johnson as the only vaccine that we are applying now. Very soon we'll receive Pfizer. Pfizer is a double shot. That's the disadvantage, but it's a good vaccine. Thank you very much.
Members, don't worry about double shot. It's vaccine. It's vaccine.
It's a double shot or a double jab.
No, it's nothing.
The double
else.
jab. Yeah.
Okay, the next question is by Honorable Shivambo.
No, thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, I'll be very disappointed if you don't have an answer to this question because we have asked the same question to the Minister of Finance, he did not respond, and we have asked the Minister of Health, he did not respond as well. Now, on the 24th of February, the minister said that government has allocated 10 billion rands for the next 2 years for the rollout and delivery of vaccines. And that means it's possibly like 5 billion rands in the 2021-2022 budget, another 5 billion rand in the 2022-2023 budget. That is the context within which we're asking this question. Now, when the Minister of Health was responding to questions on the 10th of March, that's last week, Wednesday, he said to vaccinate just half of the population of South Africa, you're going to need more than 10 billion rand. So where are you going to get the money to buy these vaccines in terms of what is required? Because there is no budgeting in the current budget. Also in the medium-term expenditure framework, there is no allocation of resources. In the appropriation we're going to pass on Friday, there is not going to be any allocation. Where are you going to get the money? Because there's no budgeting for that particular purpose. And lastly, Deputy President,
no, your time has expired. Honorable member, your time has expired.
And I would just
Honorable member, your time has expired. Your time has expired. You can't proceed. Even when you hear, and you were told, you were warned, don't exceed time allocated to you. You were given time. You were given, no authority was given to you to expand it. Not by a second. Deputy President, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. The question probably is correct because just right now we're talking about our fiscal environment. A certain amount is budgeted for the vaccines, and I don't think probably it will be adequate for the whole process of vaccination. We're hoping that mid-year, we are going to take an adjustment, but for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we think the money that is available, it's enough. But if you are now projecting to inoculate the entire nation, you'll need more. But at that time, we'll cross the river when we're there. Now we want to reach the population immunity, the 67%. We are running with the highest speed to reach that number. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The next question here is by Honorable Swart.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. My thanks also to the Deputy President. The ACDP shares the concerns of many that corruption and crime will take place, given the fake vaccines that have already been found and previous corruption that you alluded to with the PPE contracts. In addition, we see those very serious allegations of corruption within the health department itself, and it seems that the Health Sector Anti-Corruption Forum, which was launched in 2019, has largely been ineffective. I'm sure you'll agree that the 10 billion, Deputy President, of the vaccine program is rich pickings for unscrupulous people, and the fact that National Treasury has again allowed deviations for transport, storage and distribution contributes to the risk. Deputy President, would you support, as part of mitigation strategies, the real-time auditing of all related vaccine contracts as an additional measure, as well as the setting up of special additional courts to deal with corrupt companies and individuals should the need arise? Thank you.
Thank you. Dead on time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I've said in my response to the question that the Auditor General will be in a position to go into these contracts between government and the pharmaceutical companies. So, to allay your fear, there's nothing that will be hidden for government. Government will be able to go in, our Auditor General will inspect those agreements, whether there was value for money. But of course, I must also indicate that we are trying by all means to utilize our available capability. For instance, the storage that we're using, the BioVac storage, we are partly owning it, but we're looking forward to utilizing our own storage as government. And the Department of Defense has got facilities in all the 9 provinces, and we're looking forward to utilizing those facilities as our storage facilities. Given the cold chain, we'll be able to try and improve those conditions, but we want to minimize the tender process as far as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question, number 3, is asked by Honorable Mautwe, Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. We can confirm that the Interministerial Committee on Land Reform and Agriculture has been informed on the number of land claims cases under consideration by the Commission on the restitution of land rights. The amount allocated by the Minister of Finance during the budget speech is for settlement of 1,347 claims and the finalization of 1,266 outstanding land claims over the 3-year medium-term expenditure framework. Honorable members will recall that the Commission on the Restitution of Land Rights has to prioritize the settlement of older claims that were submitted by the 31st of December 1998 as directed by the Constitutional Court. In this regard, a significant amount of the Commission's budget is for the settlement of outstanding claims. Over the past 3 years, the Commission on Restitution of Land Rights has been allocated a budget of about 3 billion rands per financial year. In this regard, 82% of the budget goes directly towards the purchase of land or for the payment of financial compensation to the beneficiaries who opt for cash compensation. The rest of the budgetary allocation goes to the administrative function. Some of the examples include the settlement and finalization of the Makgoba community claim, Rahwadu community claim in Limpopo, and Umgoti community claim in KwaZulu-Natal, totaling 700 million rands. Matulini community claim for 60 million rands, and Mandlazini community claim for about 79 million rands, also in KwaZulu-Natal. Under the restitution program, the major cost drivers are payment to consultants as part of the pre-settlement of claims. To date, project payments in support of land transfer or financial compensations are the largest component of the expenditure, making up more than 80% of the restitution program's expenditure. In essence, the 2019-2020 land claims budget can be broken down as follows. 42.7% of funds from government to the Commission was spent on purchasing land as part of the restitution program. 56.9% of the budget was allocated for financial compensation to those claimants who selected the option of cash payments. And 0.3% was spent on grants aimed at providing claimants with the necessary support in the development of the claimed land. In the past 3 financial years, budget allocation to the Commission have gradually decreased. As government, we acknowledge that the slow pace of land reform is costly to the fiscus and may be unsustainable. In most cases, It may cause frustration to those whose claims have not been finalized. Nonetheless, we are resolute in pursuing land reform with urgency. Due to these delays, the Commission on Restitution and Land Rights have developed a backlog reduction strategy, which is intended to address two key issues. That is, defining, categorizing the current backlogs, and developing a plan to eliminate backlogs. The National Treasury has advised that it is difficult to estimate the total cost of remaining land claims. This decision is dependent on the preferences and the circumstances of the relevant claims at a community, at a family, at a household level, whether or not to settle for cash compensation. However, the Minister of Finance will take guidance from the Interministerial Committee on Land Reform and the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development on the estimation of claims that are likely to be compensated in cash. In support of land restitution and redistribution process, government is releasing land that is in the hands of the state in order to advance the objective of land reform. Furthermore, we'll be releasing land under the state to address development pressures around urban and rural human settlement, agricultural production, and industrial development. Having said this, Deputy Speaker, government remains committed to the resolution taken by Parliament to amend Section 25 of the Constitution, which is why we have gazetted the Expropriation Bill of 2020. We look forward to Parliament finalizing the required legislative amendments. Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Mautwe.
No, thank you very much, Speaker. It will be done by Member Chwak.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. And can I kind of a point of order to you, Deputy Speaker, because you're not wearing a mask.
It's okay, it's okay. This is the problem, Abafika. You don't worry. That's, I did explain, Honorable Member, that there are people who must read my lips.
Okay.
This is why they requested me not to put in a mask when I'm speaking here, so that I'm also not muffled when I speak.
And the DP as well is not wearing
because
a mask.
he's speaking on the microphone to avoid muffling. It's okay, it's okay. Go ahead with your stuff now. Yeah.
It's not the first time that I'm here. I
don't know, no.
Okay, Deputy President, it is now almost 23 years since in 1998 closing date for the lodging of the land claims. Now, many of the original land claimants died without ever seeing the land from which they were removed. And most of those who got the land, they've been frustrated by the lack of the government support, even though you're saying that you have it. And the bulk of the money used for land restitution has been to pay off white farmers or to settle the claims in cash and not with the returning of the stolen land. Now, if the government is in support of the principle of the expropriation of land without compensation, as you are claiming, how do you think a faster process to amend Section 25 of the Constitution assist in expediting the settlement of all the land claims? You are saying that you are committed as a ruling party. Now, you keep on shifting the goalpost because now the report of the Constitutional Review is being, you are shifting it, all the time. For you not to be able to waste the resources, don't you think that to expropriate the land without compensation is the better option? You do it now so that you don't have to waste money that can be used in the fiscus for the other things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, land expropriation without compensation is just but one available tool that will be utilized in our land reform program. There are many tools. Some land is going to be purchased for redistribution. The land that is in question for expropriation is restituted land because that land has been claimed by particular claimants. There are land parcels that have not been claimed, but they are up for sale, and the government can purchase those and redistribute those land parcels to people who are landless. So we take expropriation of land without compensation as one tool that is aimed at addressing restitution that is lagging behind. Now, we are not going to wait until all the legislative processes are in place before we can transfer land from those who own the land to the claimants. Now, meanwhile, as Parliament, you are dealing with Section 25 of the Constitution, you are dealing with the expropriation bill. We are going to continue to settle claims so that there's no standstill in the process. We said so that in the beginning, the President said we are going to embark on a land reform process in a manner that respects the Constitution. So it's important to go through the legislative process before you can embark on your expropriation of land without compensation, because it must be defined in the Constitution. You can't just do what you think is right. It should be what is in the Constitution. Therefore, you have got a duty as Parliament, as members of Parliament, to stand up and hurry up the amendment of the Constitution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next supplementary question is by Honorable Mudise.
Dumela DP.
Dumela.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. DP, given His Excellency President Ramaphosa's announcement on the release of state land, in what way will the program to release state land assist government to accelerate the settlement of outstanding land claims, as well as speed up increasing access to land by a majority of South Africans? Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much. I think the process of releasing state land to the claimants and to ordinary people who are hungry for land will assist in taking forward our land reform program in a faster way. This is how it's going to happen. We have said so, and I'm going to repeat it again, that land that is in the hands of the state, whether it's in the Department of Public Works, whether it's in the Department of Defense and whatnot, we are going to deliberately take that land and give it to the people, whether claimed or unclaimed. It's worse if the land has been claimed. Now, on the land that has been claimed but is in the hand of the state, we are going to give back this land to the claimants. We are not requesting any money from the claimants. We are going to give them that land. Again, we are going to identify pieces of land that are in the hands of government that can be redistributed to the people. That's one arm of land reform. It's either you restitute because person has claimed the land, or you redistribute because the person has got no land, and that person wants land. Again, we have, like here in the Western Cape, we've just released land for human settlement. This land has been owned by the Department of Defense. I might not be exact in terms of the names of the portions, but the land is in the hands of the Department of Defense, and it's here in the Western Cape, and it's prime land. We are going to release this land for human settlement. Now, we know that releasing this piece of land ultimately will end up in the hands of the people in terms of their title deeds to the pieces of land that they will ultimately own, whether it's a house in that piece of land. So this is how we think we can fast-track our land reform program. But we are not really ruling outside the amendment of the Constitution and the expropriation bill as one of the tools that must be utilized to expedite land reform. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The third supplementary question is by the IFP. Is it still you, Ndadeng?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ndad.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, according to the Finance Minister, the Land Bank defaulted on its debt in April 2020. It has been allocated 7 billion in recapitalization funds. Have these funds been dispersed? That's the first one. And as part of the Land Bank's transformation mandate, what percentage of this fund will be apportioned to the previously disadvantaged group who wish to enter the agricultural arena? I thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Who is Willeba?
Deputy Speaker, what do you think? Looks like it's a new question. What do you think? I think it's a new question.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to answer this question. It's about the land bank defaulting, and I'm ready to come back to the honorable member and give information about the defaulting of the land bank.
Okay. All right. No, that's okay. I was giving you the option, Deputy President.
Okay.
It's all right. Let's. I hope you.
Give me a cake.
Let's honorable members, if you're not speaking, please switch off your mic. Please. The last supplementary question here is from Honorable MGE Hendricks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Is it acceptable to the Deputy President that the statement was made in this Parliament that in District 6, 108 houses was on the radar, but we have been informed that these restitution flats is being built at a cost of 4.8 million rand per flat, and 1 million rand must still be paid for per flat. There is an overall plan for the total development for District 6, the hub of the resistance in the 1960s, which government paid for, and includes a business model and development framework, which involve all 3 tiers of government. What is the status of this plan, Honorable Deputy President? Is the Deputy President willing to join me on an oversight visit, and maybe the Honorable Mandla Mandela can join us? Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. There's an offer for an accompaniment, Deputy President.
Yeah, well, let's take the offer so that we can understand what's happening.
Yeah.
To get to understand exactly the problem. Of course, this is a new question, but I'll take the offer to go and understand what is happening at District 6. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, We now go to question 4 asked by
Deputy
Honorable
Speaker?
Siminya. Yes,
Deputy
Honorable Member.
Speaker,
Yes.
I think technically we had only 3 follow-ups since Ngumalo's follow-up fell off the radar. Can you give us that opportunity for the fourth question?
You should have said so then. I'm gone. I am. Yes.
Deputy Speaker, you haven't started the next question.
No, we are gone. Honorable
No, we
Member.
are not gone. We only did 3 follow-ups.
Yeah.
The other one fell off. Can you give us that opportunity of the one
no,
that
let me,
fell
let me
off?
show you how it didn't fall off. The man requested, and the Deputy President agreed to respond to his question at the earliest opportunity. So that's done. That's settled. Yes. Okay. Allow me to go, please, in future. In future, immediately the rest do that. Yeah. We are gone now. Ms. Minya, it's your turn now on question number 4. Or it's the Deputy President who must respond to Ms. Minya first, and then she'll follow.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In essence, the quarterly labor force survey of the 4th quarter of 2020 shows substantial increase in the rate of unemployment compared to the 3rd quarter of the same year. This is despite the increase in employment of 333,000 that was experienced during the same time compared to the 3rd quarter of 2020. From these results, Deputy Speaker, the youth have been the hardest hit, with an increase of 41.8% of youth not in education, not in employment or training, that are between the years 15 and 34 in quarter 4 of 2020, compared to 40.1% in quarter 4 of 2019. Of these numbers, female youth are the hardest hit. Understood in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on the economy and employment prospects for many young people, the statistics indicate that the following areas will be impacted. The country will have to continue to experience increased poverty and inequality based on the high number of individuals who have lost their jobs, as the rate of unemployment has increased, leading to further inequality and poor becoming more poor. The reduced absorptive capacity of the economy will lead to further insecurity with regards to employment and income for the country's labor force. Social cohesion will be affected due to the inability of the economy to prioritize the development of its youth, women, and people living with disabilities. However, like in all major crises, the COVID-19 pandemic presents new opportunities that needs to be harnessed. For instance, the impact of COVID-19 pandemic has led to new knowledge economy that demands new capabilities in terms of e-skilling to fight poverty and inequality. In this regard, the newly appointed Human Resource Development Council has resolved to recalibrate the human resource strategy to be skills-based, innovation-led, entrepreneurship-driven, and technologically advanced as part of economic reconstruction and recovery. In terms of doing things differently, the HRDC will put emphasis on the 21st century requirements for individuals who can transcend academic discipline and artificial distinction between the soft and hard sciences, bridge the divide between theory and knowledge, and match classroom learning with market demands by extending its role beyond merely providing oversight as an institution, but also to include thought leadership to unlock opportunities for growth purposes within the digital economy. The potential to recover and reconstruct the South African economy lies in recognizing that in order to reconstruct, we'll need a youth-centric, multi-sectoral, strategic, and innovative ethos that guides massive employment, impacting positively on the demand and the supply side of the labor market. The new approaches sees youth not only potential beneficiaries of jobs, but as co-creators of new economy as well. A study into the youth labor market transition by the National Planning Commission concluded that there needs to be a change in approach on pathways management of youth from education to active economic participation. Youth development programs must account for their different circumstances, constraints, needs, and aspirations. In our view, the private sector also has a responsibility to contribute to making South Africa better. We must also look at young people as creators of industry. We applaud the Department of Tourism for implementing, among others, empowerment programs for the youth in areas such as culinary, food safety, sommelier, and hospitality. Young people in these programs also receive stipends as part of a comprehensive poverty alleviation response. The non-financial business support, which is provided to SMMEs, is also critical in ensuring their sustainability. At the same time, the stimulus contributes to catalyzing economic recovery through the multiplier effect of spending in local economies. This spending directly supports small enterprises and the informal sector in townships and rural areas. In the current phase of the presidential employment stimulus, which was announced by the President, the target is providing 700,000 directly funded opportunities. This range from public employment to livelihood, support for vulnerable categories of self-employed and job retention schemes. By the end of February this year, more than 550,000 opportunities were in the implementation to support the employment of education and teacher assistants. Of this, more than 300,000 young people were employed as teacher and education assistants across 20,000 of our schools. In addition to these interventions, we have, over the past year, laid the foundation to address the barriers faced by young people in order to shift their trajectory from learning to earning, so that they are able to gain a foothold in the economy. We are mindful of the dictates of the future of work, which requires us to adapt to the changing environment. This means embracing digitization, upgrading of workforce planning and reskilling, targeting of high growth sectors and roles, as well as finding opportunities for entrepreneurship. Therefore, Honorable Deputy Speaker, in implementing the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan, our strategy should respond to young people who are digitally adept with information and communication technologies, demanding skills and expertise that will enable them to adapt adequately to the changing workplace and technological demands. It is a fact that young people have immense potential that should be harnessed, especially for the poor majority who needs us to address the structural factors pertaining to skills development, education, and economic inclusion. No society should allow young people to wallow in hopelessness when there are possible solutions that can change their prevailing situation. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Sminya.
Thank you very much, Deputy President, Honorable Speaker. Let me welcome the response from the Deputy President. My follow-up question is that, what are the salient recommendations in the study into the youth labor market transition, and what impact do these recommendations have on the recalibrated the human resource strategy in an effort to unlock human potential, aligning education curriculum and skills development with the labor market demand? Thank you, Deputy President.
Deputy President.
Thank you once more, Deputy Speaker. The Youth Labor Market study that was produced by the National Planning Commission in 2017 proposes 3 models that we can use for intervention to support the transition of young people into the labor market. Model 1 is focusing on enterprise development, the development of SMMEs, and supporting them so that they don't relapse. Model 2 relates to accessing the formal sector and seeks to address the interface between skill supply and the demand for jobs in the formal economy. That means the skills that we supply should match the market. This model describes various ways in which young people are or can be supported to transition into these employment opportunities. Model 3 recognizes that in many communities outside major metros, it is highly unlikely that formal sector employment will be available, and that the frustration of having nothing to do leads to our young people to do things that are outside the law, including substance abuse and involvement in criminal activity. This model advocates for creating pathways for young people to undertake social entrepreneurship and survivalist enterprise activities towards increasing the likelihood of positive engagement of young people in the economy and more broadly in society. So these are the 3 models that are suggested by the National Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honourable members, the next supplementary question, which is the second, is asked by Honourable C.V. King.
Thank you, Chairperson. Deputy President, we have a 32.5% unemployment crisis on hand. Amongst those are, as you just mentioned, the youth. We have students that are struggling to get NEFSA funding, to get into higher education, just to be let down after they qualified not to find employment. You just stated that in 2017, there was a report that you guys had, and it actually stated that you had 3 choices to go for. Obviously, it didn't work. 52% of our youth can't find employment because there's an imbalance of supply and demand of skill, which was a report that came out 2 days ago. So, Deputy President, why is the Human Resource Development Council, which is in your focal area, failing to align the Human Resource Development Strategy with the National Skills Development Strategy, rendering post-school education qualifications as irrelevant?
Deputy President.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Firstly, I must say that the problem that we are facing in the higher education, it's a good problem. It's a good problem in the sense that these are young people that are looking for education, rather than young people that are sitting at home. So the country must find the necessary resources to help these young people to be at school. And we are really encouraged by their vigor and their willingness to learn, to acquire a skill. And this is a good problem. So as a country, we are going to find the resources, because by skilling these young people, by allowing these young people to achieve a skill and train, in that way we'll be assisting the very country of ours. So, yes, we accept that as much as we've got a number of young people that are in training, in our high school institutions, in our TVET colleges, yes, we have got another number that is out there looking for employment. In that number, you have got those who have passed matric, that as government we can try and reskill and channel them elsewhere, channel their energies elsewhere, open up pathways for them. There are those that are below, they've not passed matric. As government, we must also assist them to make a living. Now, those will be admitted in our community colleges that don't require stringent admissions, so that they just acquire a skill. Of course, I have said the number of interventions emanating from our employment stimulus package have made a dent in this regard. We have retained all the number of our students in our TVET colleges, the 700 plus, close to 800,000 students. They're in TVET colleges as we speak, and they're training. And I'm sure in the next week, all our students that are now in the streets will go back to school. We'll find the money, we'll support them. We'll support them. We've got a duty to support them. There's no other way. As a country, we must know that we must support our young people to be skilled. Of course, the president has made available 12.6 billion to say, go and support young people where you can find them. And I said, we have supported young people that are interested in tourism sector. We have supported young people that are helping in our education system. And that is quite a big number. 700,000 plus of young people are in the employment now, assisting as assistant teachers. So we are beginning with our recovery plan. I can hear all of you are talking. It's an indication that we have got a challenge. And instead of talking, let's address the challenge. Stand firm and address the challenge. Talking and making noise won't help us. Thanks very much.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Mkalipi.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, I was listening to you and I'm very disappointed when you are trying to respond on the crisis that you are facing. Nevertheless, let me just pose this question, hoping that you are going to respond to the EFF question. Almost 12 million people are unemployed in South Africa, Deputy President. And you just said it for yourself that most of those people are young people. So one of the interventions that you just mentioned here for your government to do is to ensure that young people get access to education. Now, Minister PLENARY is working day and night in reducing funding for university education for the most needy of South African youth. A case in point, Deputy President, if we are updated on the news, latest one, is the case of UNISA, whereby we took it to court as EFF and you won it. So my question to you, Deputy President.
Honorable member, your time has expired.
My question to you, have you taken any action against Blade in
Honorable-
this counter-revolutionary?
Honorable member,
Point of order, stop
your
young
time has
people to
expired.
get access to education. Thank you, Deputy President.
Honorable members,
Deputy-
yes, honorable member.
Yes, Deputy Speaker, unfortunately that noted now, but the member says Blade in Zimande is working day and night to reduce the funding. It can't be correct. It's not factual. He needs to put facts on the table, if that's the case. Thank you.
Honorable members, honorable member, no, this is not going to be a dialogue. Honorable member, you know you must refer to the minister properly, first. And no, Paulson, Honorable Paulson, please, you know you should not do that. You are deliberately breaking the rules, and I would encourage you not to do that.
Speaker,
no,
with due respect, I said Mr. Blade
Listen,
Zimande.
honorable member, please, man. Hold on. Take your seat in the first place. Honorable members, please desist from doing these things you are doing that are out of order. And because you disrupt the House, we would like the Deputy President who's here to answer your questions to do so without disruption. So don't do that. Deputy President, were you done?
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. I can realize, Honorable Member Mkalipi, you are very emotional about these issues. Your concern is well placed. If our students are getting disrupted, we're all concerned. And as I said, we've got a responsibility as government to find the necessary resources to get our children back to school. Because I said it's a good problem because these are the students that want to go and learn and achieve a skill. So it's a plus for the country. I don't think it will help us really to zone down the problem to an individual, Minister Zimande. No. It's a problem that affects the country. We're just from a COVID-19, we have just emerged from a situation. And our financial situation is not very good. So, Minister is trying very hard and he will be supported by Cabinet, by the President. We will try and find money and support our students. Sisonke la kule ndaba. We must act together. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The last supplementary question is asked by Honorable Sheikh.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, I don't think the problem is as simple as we think. Now, in the last 6 out of the 7 years that I am here, we have been repeatedly highlighting the problem we have in terms of the skills shortage in the country and what the TVET colleges and tertiary institutions are offering in the country. They don't speak to each other. Now, the problem when I say is bigger than that, it starts right from school level. You're having, and I've got some statistics here which is very alarming, Deputy President, only 51% of black children finish school that started in grade 1, finish up to matric, while the white child 81%, an Indian 81%, and a colored child 52%. So you can see the problem. Now, that is in addition, and that is
Honourable
I'm
Member,
about
ask your
matric.
question. Your
Yes,
time
I'm
is
getting.
running out.
Yeah, but it's a very important thing, Deputy
No, no,
Speaker.
no, no,
Okay.
no, no, no.
All right.
Your time is limited.
Okay,
It's-
so the
now-
problem is that
now
the
look at
tertiary
it.
institution...
Honourable Member, your time has finished.
You just told me to ask
I
the
sought to
question.
warn you, and you insist on your preambles and tall stories and not asking your question. No, 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 I object, honourable members. I can't be sitting here telling you to use the time you were allocated and you don't use it. No, you rise to make your statement and ask your question. If you can't do it within the minutes allocated to you, I must stop you. I mean, 20 seconds, more than you deserve. Your time is finished, unfortunately, and I'm not giving it to you. Honourable President, you may respond or comment on the matter before you.
I think that's the Deputy President, not the President, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much for correction, Honourable Sheikh. So you are alert on those matters. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Deputy President.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Speaker is very harsh. If I was the Honourable Deputy Speaker today, I would have given you that opportunity.
No. Unfortunately, you won't be today.
Well,
Absolutely.
I'm not.
Deputy President.
Yeah.
These are the rules here.
Well, to try and answer the preamble to the question, because I heard that you are talking about the structural problem in education and the skills mismatch. That means our economy needs this kind of skills, and as a country we're developing these skills. That theory has been dismissed. It has been dismissed because we've got engineers, electrical, mechanical, that are out there without employment. Our economy can't absorb them. Probably it's high time for the economy to expand so that it can absorb these multi-skilled that are there in the market. But of course, I take the point that a number of our students fell along the way. They drop out. They don't reach the desired destination because of a number of factors. But this government of the ANC has given it to itself to support a child right from the mother's womb until tertiary education, because a mother will be given a grant. The child, after being born, the child will be given a grant, cushion the child and the mother from poverty. The child will be afforded education, which is free, right until higher education. And that is very costly. We provide a teacher, we provide furniture, we provide books, we provide everything for our children. Of course, there are still certain elements that we must deal with that affect our children, making it very difficult for them to complete schooling. We must assess those conditions. Some children, yes, are still traveling distances to school, which is a problem. Those are communities in far-flung rural areas, farming communities, where we still need to improve the kind of education that we offer at that level. But if you look at the performance of our basic education over the years, we have done very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. Honourable members, at the beginning of our these questions here, I took issue with Honourable Hilui because he exceeded his time frame. Now, you always demand of us presiding officers to be even-handed. I can't allow anybody in the House, especially when the importance is self-made and not the decision of the House. That question is important. Please adhere to the allocated time, because it prioritize your question, and its motivation can then fall off if your time is gone. So if you prioritize your motivation, then you are bound to run into trouble. You can't blame us, presiding officers, for your ill-preparedness. Because you know what's going to happen. It's not like you don't know. So as a belief, man, commons play and the railings, you can't be running all the time off the rails. There's onaanvaarbaar. As a belief, ons vra, altyd van hier. Relko patlik. Honorable members, the next question is number 5, asked by Honorable Hlengwa. Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, we appreciate the focus that the IFP is placing on the sustainability of Eskom, as this demonstrates the appreciation of the strategic nature of this power utility and its impact to the South African economy. However, the debt level of 488 billion rand that the honorable member is referring to is debt at the end of March 2020. The current debt level as at the end of September is 464 billion rand. Therefore, this half-year results demonstrate a decline in Eskom's debt. We have on numerous occasions acknowledged the complexity of restructuring the entity, such as Eskom, and the amount of time it takes to realize the intended results. The frustration of the public, therefore, is understandable. We harbor no illusion to the reality faced by the power utility, which is shaped by the legacy issues, as well as other challenges relating to this debt. This is why we came up with Eskom's turnaround plan that is focused on the following 5 areas: operational recovery, improving the utilities income statement, addressing the balance sheet, accelerating the restructuring of Eskom into 3 divisions, building a high-performance organization through addressing its corporate culture. Under the leadership of the Group Executive for Transformation Management Office, was appointed in July 2020 to focus on Eskom's restructuring. The following progress year to date for 2021 has been recorded. On improving the utilities income statement, Eskom has realized savings of 4 billion rand that was declared against a target of 3.1 billion rand. This will further be complemented by a tariff increase of 15% for the 2022 financial year, which has been granted to Eskom. In terms of employee costs, the second round of voluntary severance package are underway, and net savings are expected to be realized in the 2022 financial year. Efforts are underway towards ensuring that the procurement savings are also realized. This is in line with the update that the board of Eskom gave to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts on the 4th of March 2021. On efforts related to strengthening the balance sheet, a savings of 7.5 billion rand has been realized in terms of capital expenditure. Processes are also underway to dispose non-core assets. In line with achieving operational efficiency, 5 units at Medupi and Kusile Power Station that had designed effects are being corrected, and this will contribute to sustainable energy provision by our new build program. For instance, Kusile Unit 2 has added 720 megawatts to the national grid since its commercial operation in October 2020. Major defects at Ingula pumped storage scheme have been addressed, and each of the 4 units are now performing at full capacity of 331 megawatts from the previous 245 megawatts. Further, transmission network performance has returned to the expected levels, and distribution performance remains stable. On restructuring ESCOM into 3 divisions, divisionalization was completed by March 2020 as the first step towards business separation, with functional separation to be completed by March 2021. The establishment of a separate transmission subsidiary is still targeted to be completed by December 2021, with generation and distribution by December 2022. Finalization of this process will create the required certainty for prospective investors in generation capacity, in turn ensuring that bids are fairly adjudicated relative to ESCOM's generation. In our view, Honorable Deputy Speaker, this is a demonstration that the sentiments by the Honorable Member that none of the deadlines of ESCOM's turnaround strategy have been met are misplaced. As the political task team on ESCOM, we are comfortable with the notable progress in ESCOM's recovery of its operational performance that has been made thus far. Our current focus should be on addressing the elements that contribute to decreasing the debt, including the procurement function in the turnaround plan. The rising municipal debt continues to pose serious risk to ESCOM long-term financial sustainability. In fact, it contributes to liquidity challenges that are faced by the entity. In this regard, a number of efforts are underway to address this challenge. For instance, the ESCOM Social Compact signed by government, business, labor, and community constituencies at NEDLEC on the 8th of December 2020. It's a key step to addressing this debt burden. It provides the foundation for future initiatives. The parties to the Social Compact committed to supporting ESCOM to joint solution to illegal connections and 9 payment of the debt. At the level of the political task team on ESCOM, we have established a multidisciplinary revenue committee made up of all departments of public works and infrastructure, public enterprise, human settlement, water and sanitation, COCTA, National Treasury, SALGA, and ESCOM. The mandate of this subcommittee under the coordination of National Treasury is to improve revenue management in municipalities, which encompasses addressing debt issues, but also to ensure the reduction in debt owed by municipalities. In this regard, the ESCOM political task team is encouraged by the progress made in the collection of 4 billion rands of outstanding debt by provinces between the 1st of April 2020 and the 1st of December 2020. Honorable Hlengwa, should be relieved by this progress, following communication to the Leader of Government Business on the 11th of March on the development of a roadmap towards ensuring that the debt to ESCOM is settled. In many instances, the municipal debt to ESCOM is largely caused by area accounts, interest on outstanding debt, and exceeding the notified maximum demand. In this way, municipal debt continues to grow, placing more pressure on the financial sustainability and inability to pay back ESCOM, thereby impacting on their capacity to provide services. It is for this reason, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that an active partnering model between ESCOM and municipalities with high debt level is being considered by the political team on ESCOM in order to improve revenue collection. In this case, ESCOM will act on behalf of the municipality, maintain and operate its network, bill and collect all revenue due to the municipality. The envisaged benefit of this model are the following: enabling the municipality to discharge its constitutional duties by providing reliable electricity to its customers, curbing the municipal debt increase, improving the municipality revenue collections. We invite all of us to support this proposal in line with our responsibility of improving the culture of payment for services, such as electricity and water, by all our communities. Across political divide, we must join in the comprehensive campaign of encouraging our communities to pay for electricity and other services they consume. We want to reiterate the campaign by the political task team on ESCOM to pay for municipal services, just as we do with other private services. This campaign also targets illegal connections, ghost vending, meter tampering related to electricity and water. In our view, addressing the issue of non-payment will contribute in turning around the financial situation of ESCOM, thus delivering an overall turnaround plan. We therefore make this clarion call to all our communities to pay for electricity that they consume in order to enable ESCOM and municipalities to provide the necessary services on a continuous and sustainable basis. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The Honorable Hlongo.
House Chair, Mr. Hleng was at the Royal Palace. I'll take the question on his behalf.
Ithathe Nquma.
Angithokoze, House Chair. I think, Deputy President, let me first, you and I agree that in the past 2 days it has been said that we'll be experiencing load shedding for the next 5 years. But through the mouth of the President, His Excellency Mr. Ramaphosa, in 2017 made a promise to the nation that we'll no longer be experiencing load shedding. Now, back to you, Honorable Deputy President, you convened a political task team meeting on the 8th of November 2020, at which you received a progress report, as you have already said, on the debts of municipalities into ESCOM. Now, it appears from what is reported about this meeting is that the task team resolved to explore all avenues, as you have already articulated some of them here today. But what the main question, Honorable Deputy President, would be, what will be the action steps taken for those municipalities who do not come to the fore in terms of what the political task team has put on the table, and what will be the repercussions and the action steps that will be taken by you and the team that you are leading and by government to ensure that we collect as much revenue or as much money from municipalities as possible under your watch. I thank you, Deputy President and Chairperson Morot.
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy President.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think the honorable member must commend the political task team for the progress that we've made. I think 40 billion has been paid. And this 40 billion comes from government departments and comes from municipalities. I take it as progress. It was under severe duress and pressure that were exerted on these government departments and municipalities. I must say thank to Minister Tilil, leading the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, for the cooperation. So we're going to continue on that road. But one step that we're taking parallel to this one is that we are going to enter into an agreement with all the top 20 defaulting municipalities. Eskom is going to take over the running of the electricity in those municipalities. It's going to build, it's going to put meters, it's going to improve the billing in those municipalities so that Eskom can recover the money. And we request people to support us in that effort. The first municipality, Maluta Pofung, Mfuleni municipality, Governing Pegi municipalities, I can name all of them. All those municipalities, we are going to sign an agreement between those municipalities and Eskom so that Eskom can go in. We're going to pilot the installation of meters. We're going to improve the billing system. We're going to improve illegal connection, remove all illegal connection so that we eliminate wastage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. The Honorable Jay Shabalala will take the second follow-up question.
Thank you, Madam House Chairperson. Deputy President, reality is that the ESCOM, the restructuring of ESCOM is very critical for our own economic growth and development, and its cost structure is negatively impacted upon the debt liability. Now, the ESCOM debt liability, Deputy President, has increased and is drowning the profitability of the company. How is that the restructuring process dealing with the implementation of the turnaround plan and reducing the debt liability going to assist so that we are able to put the ESCOM and they are able to be self-sufficient where it's needed? Just the last point, since I have the time, it's not in the question. The issue of load shedding, we are in it. ESCOM has spoken about it. What is it doing? I think it's affecting lots of our communities. What can you advise that our people need to take strides so that they deal with their own lives and that way they're able to adhere to ESCOM?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
The Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Chair. Let me start with the last question of load shedding. I think we must commend the leadership of ESCOM for coming out openly to say, this is what is going to happen. Given the nature of the grid, given the nature of the performance of our plants. Now, the fact of the matter is that our plants are getting old each day. And some of them are very old, by the way, very old, but we need them to produce energy so that me and you can have light. Now, we maintain those power stations. So there is this, what is called planned maintenance. ESCOM will plan the maintenance of all its power stations. But there will be unplanned maintenance, unplanned disruptions. Meanwhile, we have planned to maintain this power station and that power station. Another power station will be disrupted. Now, if a power station is disrupted and it's unplanned, we lose that energy. We lose that energy and we're forced then to step into load shedding. But the the unplanned disruptions are mainly caused by a number of years of non-maintenance, which now the current leadership is trying to recover from. What they call is that now they are doing reliability maintenance so that these power stations can be reliable. The maintenance that they do should be thorough so that this power station should not just break any time and disrupt the life of the people. So yes, we're going to do everything in our power to shorten that period. But for now, let's accept what the leadership of ESCOM has said, but we'll go inside and say, let's put more effort to try and reduce the period of load shedding. That, of course, will require a lot of resources. Now, I've said in my answer that the debt has gone down from 488 billion down to 464 billion. It's because of the recovery and because of the efforts that ESCOM is putting in trying to ensure that those who are owing are pressurized. We have gone to court with a number of municipalities, pressurizing them to pay, and some have paid. Now, we realize that probably going to court and disrupting municipalities is not the best way. Maybe the best way is to partner with them, ensure that service is delivered, but the amount recovered will then go to ESCOM, and ESCOM will then pay what is due to the municipality. Because if we allow the municipality to collect, they don't pay what is due to ESCOM. They pay other things that they are short of. So yes, there is progress that we are making in terms of reducing the debt. And there is a coordinated effort that we are doing as government departments, the departments that I've mentioned, in trying to ensure that all those that are owing should pay. And we're now sitting with National Treasury. We're looking at municipalities, we're looking at their grants, and we're thinking, because we've got access to their grants. And I must say to them, we are thinking about what to do with these grants that we see, and they are not paying. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The Honorable Kachalia will ask you the third supplementary question.
House Chair, ESCOM thrived in the past by anticipating the course of history and stepping out in front of change, thereby building its capacity to lead. But that has all gone to seed, and we are literally facing a dark future. In 1983, the governments responded to a cost crisis at ESCOM by appointing a commission of inquiry into the supply of electricity, the De Villiers Commission. Will the Deputy President now agree to a call for urgent steps to convene an ad hoc committee with clearly defined terms of reference on the state and fate of the utility, with the provision of the requisite transparency in terms of information concerning all procurement contracts and other arrangements that impact costs, detailed plans for costed operational improvements, and the potential sources of funding to address the availability and affordability of our electrical supply. We cannot continue like this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sekela Mongameli.
Thank you very much. It's not an excellent question. Because, yes, I heard a voice saying, excellent question. Now, I want to say, it is not my call as Deputy President, as a member of this National Assembly, to support a call.
Honorable Kachalia, you can't do that. You
but
can't
the call is on all members of this National Assembly to debate that, and if they so feel, they can do that. But I'm reporting on what we are doing. Thank you very much. I'm wrong. So I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. Thank you very much.
Sithokoze Sekela Mongameli. Wokugcina sizobiza uBabu Thring.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Deputy President, Eskom, with the debt of some 464 billion, is seen by many as the single biggest risk to the South African economy. The staff complement sits at 44,000, and a World Bank study indicated that Eskom is overstaffed by some 66%. An increase in staff at Eskom has led to a decrease in its electrical output. Now, Honourable Deputy President, noting that Eskom risks defaulting on its debt payments and that some difficult decisions will need to be made to reduce Eskom's bloated workforce, what plans are in place to bring Eskom's staff complement in line with international norms, aside from retirement and voluntary severances? And what are the timelines to achieve this? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Thring, the Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I think this is one aspect of the turnaround strategy. And to date, if I can report, more than almost 2,000 people have left the employ of Eskom. Why? We have not retrenched people. We have allowed people through the natural attrition process to leave. Some go on retirement, some, unfortunately, they pass on, and we close or we abolish the post. We don't reopen the post, we rearrange. Meanwhile, that process is happening, we have realized that we have lost a lot of skills in Eskoms. The required skills to sustain Eskom, to sustain our power station. We have allowed Eskom to acquire those skills, even if it comes to importing those skills. We said to the CEO, do that. Because you need that skill in a power station, and that skill, you need a mechanical and electrical engineers that should be in a power station to ensure that that power station is running. For a particular time, we have lost a number of skilled people in Eskom, which we must now generate. So we've allowed people to leave the employ of Eskom through natural attrition, but we've opened the gate that is through severance packages to say, if you are willing, we are able to give an incentive for you to take a severance package. And the severance package, the incentive is a 75,000 rand. That if you take a severance package, we're going to give you 75,000 additional. That is one way of allowing people to leave the employ of Eskom without them being forced out to leave or retrenched. Just now we're talking about the unemployment rate. We can't be, as a state, to be the ones that retrench people. We must find better ways of handling the situation that we are confronting in Eskom. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy President. We now move to question number 6, as asked by the Honorable Dr. Mulder. Deputy President.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, the executive remains accountable to the National Assembly and has demonstrably done so through various mechanisms like appearing in portfolio committees and responding to questions for oral and written replies. As leader of government business in Parliament, we have previously affirmed the centrality of this institution in ensuring that accountability of the executive is upheld at all times. As the executive, we regard the accountability to Parliament as a platform to bridge the social distance between the people and their elected representatives. Therefore, being accountable to Parliament by the executive fosters the unity of our nation, and it promotes people's participation in policy and legislative processes. In any event, Section 92.2 and 3 of the Constitution stipulates that members of the Cabinet are accountable collectively and individually to this Parliament for the exercise of their powers and their performance and the performance of their functions. Furthermore, Section 93.3b stipulates that members of Cabinet must provide Parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control. In this regard, Parliament relies on the leader of government business to execute its oversight function with regards to programming, ensuring executive accountability, including, among other things, responding to parliamentary questions for oral and written reply. To this end, we continuously engage and monitor the executive on matters of their accountability to Parliament. This is done through reports that we present to Cabinet regarding outstanding replies by ministers in both National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. We further make requests to the executive to provide reasons for non-compliance, therefore, and a remedial action be taken to address outstanding replies. What has transpired is that most outstanding or lapsed replies will have had tight timelines, whereas required information resides in other organs of state beyond the respective member of the executive. Once information has been received, it will still undergo verification process to avoid misleading this House. However, Parliament should rest assured that we are continuously improving. Since we resumed this responsibility in the sixth administration, we have had continuous engagement with members of the executive who had larger numbers of outstanding replies. We have since recorded a decline in the number of lapsed questions. It is true that 172 questions were not responded to by the executive during 2020 session of Parliament. And the relevant members of the executive were duly advised about the number of outstanding replies before the question lapsed. For the lapsed questions for written reply in 2020, we must also acknowledge the disruption by the COVID-19 pandemic. Similarly, members of the executive had to contend with the limitation brought by the lockdown regulations and had to adjust to new ways of executing their responsibilities. In Parliament, if Parliament is of the view that executive is not accountable, Rule 136 of the National Assembly gives the power to the Speaker to establish a system to monitor and report to the leader of government business in Parliament on any steps to be taken against a member of the executive who has not complied with the rules of Parliament. Similarly, parliamentary committees have wide-ranging powers in terms of Rule 167 to summon members of the executive to explain themselves and to produce documents where necessary. In this regard, the ultimate power of reprimand rests with Parliament to hold the executive accountable. On our part, we'll continue to engage the executive in terms of their responsibilities to Parliament, including monitoring the quality of their responses to parliamentary questions. To this end, Cabinet has since delegated the minister in the presidency responsible for planning, monitoring and evaluation to develop a framework to monitor implementation of the legislative program and executive accountability as part of the measures to strengthen the executive accountability to Parliament. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Dr. Mulder.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. I agree with almost everything you said, Deputy President. You've quoted exactly from the Constitution. The parts that I was going to quote to you, you quoted them to me, because that's what the Constitution exactly says that needs to be done. Now, accountability is one of the core values of our whole constitutional dispensation. It's absolutely one of the core values. And it's the task of Parliament to keep the executive to account. And that's what we are trying to do, and that's why we are asking questions of the executive. But with all due respect, sir, if we come at the end of the term and 172 questions were not answered by members of the executive, surely nobody can be happy with that. Nobody can accept that. It's just not acceptable that that kind of situation could arise. I do not agree with the COVID thing. The cabinet should try Zoom. It works for most of us, and they could really try that to speak to their officials. What I want to ask the Honourable Deputy President is, what steps are you going to take within the executive to make sure that this stops immediately? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The Honourable Deputy President.
Well, I've conveyed this message to the executive through the cabinet meetings, and this matter was discussed. And what has been obvious is that some of the questions, they take long to be responded to because of their nature. For instance, if you ask a question about a province, the relevant minister must source that information from that province, and also made it a point that that information that he or she has received is correct, so that whatever is presented to Parliament should not mislead Parliament. The same applies to questions that require an answer from a municipality. Now, it's better if we focus our questions on the function of the executive, the national government. I'm sure all parties here are represented in the different provinces, in their legislatures, so those questions can be asked there. And a number of parties are represented in the different municipalities, so those questions can be asked in those different municipalities, other than making a hassle to ask a question from a municipality, and it will take time for that answer to be processed to the members of the National Assembly. And that answer might border around something to be incorrect. So if we want to be precise, let's also look at the quality and the preciseness of the question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next follow-up question will come from the Honorable Tlakude. Oh, Chabalala will take over. Oh, Tlakude is here. Oh, okay, he's done now. Okay. The Honorable Tlakude on virtual platform, are you there?
Yes, Honorable House Chairperson, thank you.
Proceed.
Angibonge kakhulu Sekela Mongameli kule mpendulo yakho le usinikete yona yababandi kakhulu. Kodwa ungihambele phambili wayiphendula. Ngicela ukuthi ungiphinzele yona ngiyibude ngesiswati ukuthi ngabe ngitiphi tinkinga tihlangabetana nemalunga la ngebaphathiswa bematiko kuthi akwati kubamba sikhathi ekuniketeni timpendulo leti malunga eParliament alendlu yeNational Assembly lasuka atibutile ikakhulukazi timpendulo letisuka kutifundza kanye na hulumende wasemakhaya. Ngabe yini lekufanele iyendeke ukuze tifundza tibanikete letimpendulo ngesikhathi kunokuthi bababambelele ngoba kube sekubukeka ngasi labaphathiswa ngibo labangafuni kwenda umsebenzi wawo nokuthi babambe isikhathi sokuthi banikete impendulo.
Thank you. Isikhathi siphelile ma. Thank you.
Siyabonga sihlalo. Sicabanga ukuthi indlela lengcono yokuthi sibambisane si-executive sibambisane neParliament ukuthi imbuto lesiwubutako awube mbuto lowutawubuka umsebenzi wethu la ku national government kuba madima ke ukuthi sibutwe ngomsebenzi lowendeka ema-province sibutwe nangemsebenzi lowendeka bomasipala ngoba sicabanga ukuthi kule multi-party democracy tonke tinhlangano letikhona la eParliament ti-represented lapha kuma-legislatures kuma-province wonke tiphindze tibe represented kumamasipala ngibekise nje njenge-official opposition EDA. EDA ikhona kuwo wonke ama-province iphindze ibe khona kubo bonke bomasipala. Kungaba kuhle ukuthi umbuto lo instead ukuthi lo mbuto ubutwe la eNational Assembly ungabutwa khona lapho kuleyo province uphindze ubutwe khona lapho kulowo masipala ukuze uphenduleke khona lapho. Siya-discourage ke ukuthi thine lapha sibute embuzo ngamasipala nange-province. Singawubuta mbuto ngamasipala lapha thine senda i-intervention khona ngoba sesinesandla lapho. Singawubuta mbuto njenge-province lapha senda i-intervention khona njengase-Northwest lapha sifake i-section 100 kusho ukuthi nathi siyi-national government sesinesandla ekuraneni leyo province. Tinkinga tala kuleyo province sesiyadati nathi. Kuba lula ke ukuthi siukhona kuphendula lo mbuzo ngesikhathi lesifunwa ma-member eParliament. Ngiyabonga.
Sithokoze mhlonishwa Sekela Ngqongqoshe. The next question will come from the Honorable Hill Lewis.
Thank you, Chairperson and Deputy President. Just on the issue of questions, on the question of questions, if you will. Yesterday, your party voted for a rule change that will see you come much less frequently to the House, Deputy President. I'm not sure what that says about your own standing in the party, but we are on this side are sad that we will not see you as often as we are used to. But let me just make some very specific proposals and ask for your response. You've underscored the importance of constitutional accountability of the executive to this House. Can I ask for your specific commitment? Will you add replies to parliamentary questions to the performance contracts of every minister, firstly? Will you specifically reprimand those ministers who are guilty of those 172 unanswered questions? And will you give us the commitment that you will do those two things to send a clear message to the executive that you take this matter extremely seriously? Thank you.
As he will be responding, may I remind you of Rule 137.2. Please check it about how many questions you can ask. Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. With regards to the first question about the performance agreements, that is the purview of the President who signs with each and every member. Because I'm working with the President, I would convey this. I'll convey this message and the opinion. Now, the President, every time when we present a report about an unanswered question, he's got the last word on the item. And he continuously reprimands all of us to ensure that we respect the work of Parliament. So he does that on a continuous basis, and I'm sure at a particular point, when he decides so, he can take a decision to reshuffle a person. And I'm sure he's thinking about that. He might also reshuffle me, so he's thinking about that, because you don't just act on an event. You start by expressing your concern and see whether there's any improvement on what you are saying. And if there's no improvement, you act. So I'm sure the President is looking at this situation. But we must say that we often encounter some disquiet on the side of the members of the executive. Probably we must always try and maintain a cordial relationship between the members of the executive and the House. And these members are also members of the House. For instance, Honorable Chief Whip, that if a portfolio committee decides to sit, there should be ample time to communicate to the minister to say, we require you to come and present yourself before the portfolio committee on such and such a day. But I've noted that there are very abrupt meetings that are set on a daily basis, and those meetings seek to disrupt the working of the executive, because a particular member will request for an excuse in a cabinet meeting to attend to a portfolio committee. Now, if we can try and align our work, and we know all of us that we account to Parliament. Maybe the language that we use to make us feel that we must account should be moderate. It should be moderate. It should be a language to say, Minister, you're supposed to present a report. No, not to say, you must come. We don't want to hear your reason, you must come. You are talking to your colleague. You are talking to your minister. You are talking about the work of Parliament. I'm saying, in the execution of our duty, let's mind our language so that we remain professional at all times. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. The last follow-up question will come from the Honorable Mente.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy President, these questions you're answering here today, and the answer you have provided thereof is the very same answer you provided on the 25th of June, 2020. And you promised then that you are going to caution the ministers who are involved in not answering questions. Now we need at least one name that you have cautioned or you have taken to cabinet that he or she must be taken to task. I'm going to give you two names of the people who are not dealing with provinces, neither municipalities. Minister Jamnandas Godan and Minister Chaveni. They blatantly refuse to answer questions that are written questions to them, neither answering letters. If they answer, they do it condescendingly so. Okay. Now,
They even resorted into
Thank you very much. Isikhathi sakho
preventing members
siphelile.
of parliament to
Thank you, ma.
do individual oversight, which is unconstitutional.
Thank you, ma. Deputy President.
I will take up this matter and I offer to come back to you in a written form. But you see, from time to time, I'm a member of this parliament, but I can see the altercation between EFF members and Minister Kodan. At times I refer to say, no, you write private letters and then you fight in parliament. There's animosity between yourself and the minister. Of course, I'm going to take this matter up with the minister and come back to you in writing. But I'm just commenting that there's bad blood between yourself and the minister. There's no bad blood.
It's not
Okay.
only him, with Minister Nchaveni as well.
Okay.
And there's no bad blood if there is him.
Honorable member, how can you do that? You just stand and take the mic and speak. No, that's wrong. You can talk to the Deputy President after that. Your time has passed. And she has responded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Deputy President, for making this session a success. And thank you to the honorable members. That concludes, honorable members, the business for the day, and the House is adjourned. Thank you. And vote in your vote.